Today on Locked On Red Wings, new year, new Red Wings?
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Red Wings podcast. We are your hosts, Brian Fisher and Scotty Bentley. Scotty's host over at Locked On Tigers, as well as a freelance journalist for the Detroit News, while I am a color commentator for Oakland University ACHA D1 men's hockey. And Scotty, we got another win to talk about. The Detroit Red Wings, they did back-to-back wins. Todd McLellan is now 2-1 in his era here, but in my heart, 2-0, because that first game should not count since he
600
that day. Yeah,
for the guy, too.
Yeah. That was a big win for him. Congratulations to Todd McLellan, like right off the top, on getting your 600th career win as a head coach in the NHL. That's not easy to do, and you have to be good at your job to be floating around the NHL that long and get that many different gigs. So hopefully he gets another 400 or 500 with the Red Wings, however many it takes to get us to the playoffs. I don't know at this point. But yeah, they won 4-2 against the Pittsburgh Penguins on New Year's Eve. And again, Scotty, this is another game where the Red Wings looked good. They looked like, and that's my first thought in this game, Scotty, is that this looks like a team that is playing a lot closer to its potential than what we had been seeing under Lalonde this season. Like, this looked like a game. Pittsburgh Penguins are a team that's going to be fighting for a wild card. In theory, that was what your goal was this season. You're only 6 out, but it's still a monumental hill to climb. But this was a team that is, while they're coming out of a contention window, they're trying to hold on. They're still a wild card, in the wild card hunt. I don't want to say they're a wild card team, but they're going to be playing for a wild card, and they're only a couple points out. And you went and played them. You played them hard, and you got the win. And so my first thought was, this is a team playing close to its potential.
Yeah, man, I agree with you. And I think that when we talk about like preseason and early in the regular season, you know, what we wanted to see from this team, what we wanted this team to look like, it is a lot more similar to what the last 2 games have been. Now, there is still a lot that is going to have to get ironed out. These are far from perfect performances, right? There's still a lot of, possession stuff that we have been looking at. There's still a lot of question marks on the blue line. But in terms of just, I don't know, like just kind of a relaxed eye test, I'm going to sit down and watch Red Wings hockey. Like, I feel like that is, like, these last 2 games have been far more what we have wanted to see and far closer to that preseason expectation of, like, you know what, this still might not be a bona fide playoff team, but they're probably in the mix, and they're probably on the cusp of a wild card and going to be playing competitive hockey late in the season. And I think that, and again, it's a 2-game sample size. You know, the wheels could fall off the track, and it could be a total disaster here in a week. But like these last 2 games, the sample size we do have of the McLellan era has been a lot more inspiring than what we were getting, especially towards the end of the Lalonde era.
Well, yeah, and then what's interesting, too, is in these back-to-back 4-2 wins, the game flow kind of went the same exact way in both games. Red Wings came out flying. Now, they didn't score 4 goals like they did against the Washington Capitals, but they came out applying a lot of pressure early. They did get an early goal from Jonathan Berggren. We'll talk about that. But, you know, they had a 60% shot attempt share in the first period at 5-on-5. Their expected goals for percentage in the first period was 74%, which is domination. But then just like in that first game, the second period, it's like what McLellan was saying in postgame. Like, the gas tank kind of got empty. Like, they came out hot, but they don't have the stamina to go. And that's alarming. But they don't have the stamina to go all 60. The second period, the other team pushed back hard, and the Red Wings got dominated statistically in the second. Now, they walked away from the second with a lead, and that's thanks to the special teams. But before we get to any further into that, Scotty, what was your first thought in the game?
My first thought was honestly, after the final buzzer sign, it was just a sigh of relief a little bit. I think, as you mentioned, the second period really did not go their way, and for them to come out in the third and look the way they did and really kind of take control of the game again, I think says a lot, because I think especially, and I don't think it's super fair to just like only compare and contrast what we've seen in 2 games to like the entire Lalonde era. I think that's, you know, a little bit probably unfair to Newsy, but like when we are when watching that game, it was okay. The wheels fell off in the second period. This is going to go south really quickly, and then it didn't, right? And they turned it around and they went out and they had a lot of energy in the third, and kind of sealed the game. And so I think that my first thought was just pleasant surprise of like, oh, like it is, it is possible to bounce back mid-game. It's not just strictly, the second period didn't go our way, so the third period isn't either. Like the fact that they were actually able to make in-game adjustments, which is nothing short of a Christmas miracle from what we've seen so far this season with this team. The ability to make in-game adjustments and actually go out and play a really competitive and solid third period after a bad second. I think, you want to play 3 solid periods in a perfect world, but I think if you are gonna play a weak one, to be able to know, okay, if you come out fired in the third, that is possible.
Yeah.
I think was really reassuring.
You're 100% spot on too, and that's the same again going back to the Capitals game. Like after a really dominating first to getting borderline to or getting dominated in the second, they readjusted in the second intermission. And it was a really close, competitive third period by all the numbers. So what you're seeing with the eye test is backed up with the analytics. It was a 55-45 split on the Corsi for percentage. Penguins had the edge there, but at the expected goals for, said the Red Wings dominated with 63%. So it was a much closer third period, neck and neck, and the Red Wings were able to get a power play goal late and then seal it with an empty net goal, and they looked like a team that was playing effing hockey. Again, going back to that adage. Like they're coming out and they're being not just playing hard, but they're being creative in the offensive zone. They held the Pittsburgh Penguins without a shot for the first 10 minutes of the game. Like they are playing good defense, which was the goal, right? They're playing good defense by having the puck. Wild concept. But just by playing hard, winning the puck battles, and getting in the offensive zone.
Which is so frustrating because that's what Newsy wanted to do. Like that's literally his entire philosophy when he was hired was like, look, we're gonna possess the puck and play low event hockey, and it just like never happened ever. And so to have these last couple of games and be like, oh, like they aren't great defensively. This isn't some defensive juggernaut of a team, but the other team literally can't score if you have possession of the puck for prolonged periods of time. So the fact that they've been able to do that a lot better, at least over a 6-period sample size, is nice.
Yes, absolutely. Scotty, as far as difference maker goes, who do you got?
Yeah, this is kind of a cop-out and a little bit of a cheap answer because it's very broad, but I'm just going to go with depth scoring in general. We saw Berggren was a really big talking point for us in the summer and heading into the season. And then we haven't really talked about him too much. He hasn't been a disappointment, I don't think, but he hasn't been, some like incredible option down in the lineup card for like depth production either. So I think to see him put the puck in the back of the net was really nice. JT Compher, while he brings a lot to the team, isn't necessarily filling the stat sheet up either. So both of them, I think, getting goals was really nice. And then like Larkin, empty netter, obviously at the end of the game. Patrick Kane, it was Kaner, right? Or did I just make that up?
Nope,
yeah,
no, you're right.
Patrick. Right, on the power play. Yeah. So Patrick Kane with another one. So like those are more guys we expect to produce, but the literal difference was 2 goals, and that's going to be the 2 goals from depth scoring, which we've been asking for all season. So the fact that they got that in this game, I think, clearly went a long way.
When in doubt, Scotty, just look at the screen. It's usually there.
Well, I don't trust you to change the screen 100% of the time. Sometimes
that is fair.
Sometimes we're rolling in with yesterday's background, but
that's fair. That's a fair point. So yes, depth scoring, that's a big one. Obviously, Berggren getting a breakaway goal, great way to start the game, puts the team on the right foot. Coming out the gate, Compher, crazy considering Compher was the second-line center, but yeah, now he's the third-line center, and you consider that depth scoring for sure. That's very important for this team. Something they were not getting for a long time. Compher was on a dry spell for the longest time, so him scoring is huge, even though he may have robbed Eric Gustafsson of his first NHL Red Wings goal. I don't know. I don't know if that would have gone in without Compher giving it a poke, but I also could have seen it going in without Compher getting a poke. But Compher got the goal. We won because of it, so we'll take it. But my difference maker in this hockey game, I'm going to go with the power play. They scored 2 power play goals to retake the lead twice. Obviously, Berggren was a 5-on-5, but then Patty Kane on the power play just off the. I didn't think it went in live.
I didn't either. Yeah,
like I didn't realize it hit the back bar and came right out. And even Ken Daniels was like kind of taken aback. If you kind of listen to the call again, he's hits the post and he scored because like he looked at the players around and they're all celebrating and he's like, the players will know better than I do. Then on replay you see it clearly went in. Another great shot. Kane's been definitely heating up, and I'm sure we'll talk about that in segment 2. But then Compher getting that power play goal late in the game to retake the lead. Special teams is going to be huge, and it's really the power play was struggling for a little bit there, and that's 3 power play goals in the last 2 games for the Detroit Red Wings. So the power play heating up.
2 of those are Kane.
Yep, 2 of those are Kane. So the power play getting back to heating up is tremendous, and we definitely need that if we're going to continue to win hockey games and try to take a step forward in the right direction to finish this season out, if maybe not make a push for the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, as stated there, I think Patrick Kane's a really big part of that. You know, Captain Obvious statement, obviously, but like I think that we were talking about ways to get him more involved and get the point production up earlier in the year, and lately it's been a lot better, and a lot of that's because we know he's really good on the power play and he's actually been producing there, so that'll go a long way for sure. Yeah,
and he's going to be one of our notable performers. We'll probably just talk about him out of the gate here in segment 2 coming up. The NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can finish this season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. FanDuel has so many ways for you to pick up a W. I love betting on which players will score a touchdown and how many points each team will score. It's thrilling. Scotty, this last week, I took both Laporta and Amon-Ra St. Brown I almost said ASP just out of habit. Amon-Ra St. Brown to score a touchdown, and I got that, thank goodness. So just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Segment 2, Locked On Red Wings podcast. Notable performers, I think just since we finished talking segment 1 about Patrick Kane, it's probably a good place to start with him. He's been heating up lately, which has been something the Red Wings desperately need out of him. He now has 7 points in his last 8 games after going 9 or 10 games without a single point. Getting him going is going to be tremendous for this team. Analytically, not greatest game from his line. That seems to kind of be par for the course for them. Get offensive zone deployments, score goals, give up quite a bit of offense. I think they talked about that. Was it McLellan or Lyon at this point? Talked about it the other day. It's like he got 2 points, but they also gave up 2 goals. I think that might have been at the end of Lyon's tenure. Seems pretty par for the course. Kane also, very lazy stick check on O'Connor's first goal where he just waved the stick, but
comedic levels of lazy. Literally, it was actually funny. Like when you're watching the game, you're going, "Oh my!" That was like it was out of a movie. Yes,
but he's converting on the power play, and it's providing a spark for the team and getting him going on the score sheet. Like if you're going to be bad defensively, provide offense, and he has been providing a lot more offense for this team in the last 8 games, and that's going to be kind of like what we were saying with the power play. It's going to be very important for that to get going.
Yeah, absolutely. And I Patrick Kane's obviously a big part of that, but I think with him, the coaching change is so fascinating from his perspective because obviously it was a little bit of a slower start to the season. So I'm interested to see if the usage or deployment or line mates is changed or affected in a big way for Kane specifically to try to get him going. And obviously, 3 games into the coaching change, it's been better for him. I don't know if that's correlation or causation, but either way, it's been a nice change of pace for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And who else you got? Notable performer.
I want to talk Lyon a little bit. We were talking about it off air, before we hit record here. Kind of a weird performance where like I'm not sure it was the greatest he's ever looked, but at the same time he was obviously, only allowed 2 goals, was really solid. Didn't face that many shots though either, but like the advanced analytics say that he did, even better than expected. Like just kind of a weird game for him, but we'll take it. And he did enough to get the win and only allowed 2 goals at the end of the day. So I think we will gladly take it. And goalie is going to continue to be a talking point going forward, especially as, broken record with the coaching change.
Yeah, he faced 25 shots, 920 save percentage. His goal saved above expected was 1.48. So that would suggest that despite the limited shots, he was superb on the shots he did face. But if you're watching the game, like he had a couple where like he was beaten on wraparounds and he got lucky that the player on a wraparound messed it up and didn't score on him. Or there were a couple times like he got caught, turned around at one point. So like he definitely looked a little scrambly in net at times, but he was making big saves when it counted. So it's like it was a weird performance in which good, and like it was a good performance from him. But there are definitely moments where I was like, oh man, like I held my breath. The almost goal that was scored on him as well, that Moritz Seider saved, which I guess that's a good transition in talking about Seider as well and just the defense in general. But Seider made a huge save in the second period where he dove behind Lyon and made a kick save on the shot, keeping the puck out of the net, and I think at the time kept the lead for the Detroit Red Wings. Seider is just, he's just phenomenal. Just
he's not
incredible
bad.
player.
Yeah,
not bad. Okay. What more do you really have to say about Moritz Seider? He played the most minutes again, 24 minutes last night. He was very good in the performance. The rest of the defense looked pretty solid.
I love the fact that even with the coaching change that his role hasn't wavered. It's just like so obvious that he's one of the best players on the ice and is clearly the best player on the blue line that it's like no matter who's behind the bench, it's like, all right, well, this guy's going to play every minute and in every situation. And that's kind of all there is to it. It's just been a while since the Wings have truly had that on their blue line. And it's really fun to know that he's going to be here for at least the next 8 years too.
Yeah, and the rest of the defense didn't look all that bad either. And one of the things that we've been keeping track of with the new head coach is whether or not the deployments would change. And if you look at Puck IQ the last 2 games with the Capitals and with the Penguins, obviously Seider's paired with Sherrod is getting the toughest deployments. But I've noticed that Edvinsson and Petrie's pair, which you would expect with splitting them up, putting Edvinsson on the second pair, is taking some of that workload at even strength. Well, Seider led the team in minutes overall. He was actually 4th in even strength time on the ice because he's playing a lot in the special.
Sure.
Because he's spending so much of the time on special teams. Other defensemen like Sherratt, Edvinsson, and Petrie are getting more minutes at even strength, which I don't inherently hate to not run him into the ground.
We've been asking for him to not get the most ridiculous deployments of all time. So, yeah.
And it's not, and the only way you could possibly do that to not run him in the ground is to separate Edvinsson and Seider. And, we saw it earlier in the year and it did not work and it was a disaster. But so far, it could be just a new coach bump, the spark the team has, or it could be coaching, right? The new coach in general. With how they're utilizing him, it might be working better. And it's been pretty effective so far through 2 games. They've only given up 2 goals a game since McLellan took over. Because, again, I'm not counting Toronto. He was just started that day. He didn't change anything. And if you look at Puck IQ, like obviously Seider and Schroeder are the top, but Edvinsson and Petrie, in terms of quality of competition, aren't that far behind. Those 2 pairs are getting the bulk of the majority. Like the second pair is getting tougher competition now than they were, because of the fact that Edvinsson is now on the second pair. And meanwhile, Gustafsson and Hull are still incredibly, incredibly sheltered, the most sheltered defenseman. But, neither here nor there. Basically the top 4 has been more effective because they've been able to split up the deployments and utilize them a little bit differently is the point I'm making here. Yeah,
absolutely. I completely agree with you. And that'll be something that is continued to be a talking point and we'll continue to bring up and kind of break down as it evolves throughout the rest of the season. Because I think that's a huge question mark is how the blue line is going to be pieced together here for the rest of this year until, they're able to make some additions in the offseason.
Yeah, and lastly, Scotty, top line, dominant again.
Man,
that top
Lucas
line with
Raymond,
Joe Valeno on it.
Lucas Raymond was everywhere, man.
Lucas Raymond was everywhere. He had 2 assists in this game, including giving the puck to Dylan Larkin.
He also ripped. I mean, how many shots did he have? He had to have at least three or four shots, dude. Like he was everywhere. He was 4. Yeah, he
led the team with JT Compher.
There you go. He was all over the offensive zone. He was the 2 apples is nice, obviously, but he was consistently pushing the puck and creating scoring chances. He's also not bad at his job.
I'm pretty sure it was Red Wings prospects page that tweeted out that
must follow, by the way.
Yeah,
absolute must follow. Great account.
In the last calendar year, Raymond's got 82 points in 82 games. So in 2024 alone, in the 82 games played, he's got 82 points. So he's been very good for the Detroit Red Wings, to say the least. And it was very unselfish of him to give the puck to Dylan Larkin with the empty net goal, because Dylan Larkin hadn't scored in 16, right? We've been talking about his little slump. Getting him going is important. And so him giving the puck to Larkin when he could have easily scored that goal so that Larkin could get a goal and maybe get going. Because Larkin missed a wide open net earlier in the game. And you can see the frustration. But like, even despite the slump that he's on, and Raymond being the only one who's scoring, the numbers, the analytics, right? The shot attempt share say that line dominates night in and night out. Just like against the Capitals, it was them at the top of the expected goals for percentage and at the top of the Corsi for percentage. Joe Veleno, Dylan Larkin, and Lucas Raymond had a 70%, 63%, and 63% share at Corsi for percentage. They were very good yet again. As was the fourth line. And I guess we'll finish up with that before getting into Andre Betcher and the preview of the Columbus Blue Jackets. So stay tuned to segment 3 of Locked On Red Wings. I love going to live events, whether it's sports, music, concerts, comedy, theater, whatever. One of my favorite memories, of course, it's always one of my favorite memories, going to the Red Wings game earlier this season. They played the Nashville Predators, 3-0 victory, 42 save shutout for Cam Talbot, his first win as a Detroit Red Wing. And I wouldn't have been able to do that without GameTime. Now GameTime has made it easier to get tickets to your favorite events with their new feature, GameTime Picks. This feature filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download GameTime today. What time is it? Game time.
The NFL.
You're a little late on that one, buddy. Segment 3, Locked On Red Wings podcast. The last thing from this game I want to talk about, Scotty, is the fourth line with Marco Kasper on it. They were buzzing as well. I feel like I haven't seen Tyler Mott this impactful in a game at any of the games Derek Lalonde coached. Tyler Mott's buzzing out there.
Maybe top line Mott was okay, but yes, I agree with you, man. He's a dog. I'm not going to lie to you. He's a dog. He's a gritty player, and I completely agree. I think the last 2 games he's been extremely impactful.
Yeah, and it's not just him either. I say Tyler Mott just because he's the one you expect the least out of. But that entire line, Marco Kasper, obviously very good. Michael Rasmussen, very good in this hockey game. As a line, they had an expected goals for percentage of 84%. And that's mostly because their expected goals against. They did not give up any offense. 0.06 expected goals against. They gave up just 2 shots against at 5-on-5 the entire game. Again, sample size is important. They played the fewest minutes out of any line, 7 minutes and 18 seconds. But they were a solid fourth line for the Detroit Red Wings in this game, and maybe robbed of a goal. Because remember, there was that goal that earlier in the game, I think it was the second period, where that puck was loose underneath Nedeljkovic, and the refs blew it dead right as Rasmussen had it on his stick. So they may have gotten robbed of a goal as well.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think, obviously like I said, my difference maker was depth scoring, and you're probably not going to get a lot of point production necessarily from that line. But if you can make, this sounds so simple, and it's, clearly not, but if you can just have 4 productive lines, right? If you could just have 4 lines that you are confident in, or at least know their role, and that you can get something out of, it's going to go a long way, believe it or not. So it's, it's definitely nice to see. And is yet another thing on a long list of things that we hope continues to happen going forward.
Absolutely. That's all I got from the game. Do you have anything else you want to bring up?
No, that's about it, man. Playing good hockey. Alex Lyon said it in his post game in the post game presser. It was like, we're playing a really good brand of hockey and hoping to keep it going.
Absolutely. Scotty, Andre Betcher signed an entry-level contract with the Detroit Red Wings early on New Year's Eve. 3 years, $865,000 a year. He was assigned immediately to the Grand Rapids Griffins. He was on an amateur tryout with the Griffins, I believe. He suffered an injury and only has 4 points in 20 games, but they liked what they saw enough out of him to sign him to an ELC. Third-round pick from this season is making the jump to the AHL immediately. I know he's a little older. He's 20 years old rather than 18, 19, which is part of the reason he's making the jump immediately.
Yeah, for sure.
But still, it's a good sign from the Red Wings that a player from this draft class is going immediately to the AHL. So hopefully we can see some promising things from this left shot forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, the big thing here, you can, like you said, you can focus on the AHL numbers, which have been, I don't want to say like disappointing or underwhelming. It's just taking him time to adjust to higher competition. But before the AHL, I mean, he was a point machine and was a guy that a lot of people started kind of paying a little bit more attention to, and was very productive points wise. And obviously, like you said, is one of the reasons the Wings took a shot on him in the draft and pre-draft year, like his draft year. Yes, his draft year, goodness, getting drafted, was a very solid point producer as well. So yeah, like there's some offensive upside there that I think some people are excited about, and hopefully, as you said, a little bit older, so he'll probably just stick in the AHL, and they'll see if he can adjust. But if he does, I think that there's a reason to be excited here. So yeah, good decision. No issues with it, and we'll keep an eye on him going forward down in Grand Rapids.
Yeah, he had 96 points in 58 games with the Prince George Cougars last season. 10 points in 7 games with Czechia in the World Junior Championships. So, he's a promising young forward. That's all I have really to say about him. I'm just looking forward to seeing his development continue.
Yeah, we'll see. Again, the big thing is just going to be when he actually does adjust to the AHL, what kind of production he's going to have there for sure.
Yeah, and like the point production sounds absolutely insane, but like the one thing you got to remember is in the WHL, like everyone who's going to go on to play professional hockey kind of lights up the WHL. He was only the 4th highest scorer on his team last season,
right?
At almost 2 points a game. He was behind Funk, Height, and Parasak, who had 123, 117, 105 points, respectively. And they all were taken in the NHL draft as well. So, yeah, very solid player. I'm looking forward to seeing him develop.
Yep.
Columbus Blue Jackets.
First time this year, yeah?
Yeah. We're doing a game preview actually the day before a game for once rather than the day of, but we're not planning on having a Thursday episode. So, Columbus Blue Jackets first time this year. And they are exactly 500 on the season. They are about the definition of a hockey team.
Yeah. They are what the Buffalo Sabres kind of got, a little bit of maybe a light version of what the Buffalo Sabres were a couple of years ago, where like they have goal scoring. Like they have surprised many with some really, really solid production offensively. They just have literal Swiss cheese on the blue line and in net. Their goaltending has been brutal. One of the bottom 2 in the NHL. Their goals a game have been brutal. Their shots against have been brutal. Their penalty kills been brutal. Like everything involving defense has been very, very bad. But their offense has scored enough to keep them at exactly 500. So we're really gonna put that possession is good defense kind of mindset to the test against Columbus, in Columbus too, on the road. So
yeah, they're middle of the pack in shot attempt share too, so they're not a bad possession team either. But you're right, that goaltending is just brutal. Merzlikins has an .891 save percentage. He's been their starter. Tarasov's got an .857. Greaves has an .890. I mean, all sub 900 goaltenders is not a formula for a lot of success in the NHL. But you know how that goes. It means they're going to shut us out because that seems to be the trend. We're going to get
naturally.
So, I mean, this is a team you can beat, this is a team I would hope to beat to kind of continue this revitalization of the Detroit Red Wings roster. But again, it's just we've seen how bad this team can play this season. How quickly will the new coach bump wear off? How quickly can McLellan get his system in play to maybe prevent, play drop off? It's going to be interesting because right now the Red Wings are hot. They've won 2 back-to-back games. They've looked good doing it. But can they continue? Right. Is that just because they are motivated because they have a new coach, or is that because the new coach and what he is preaching on the ice? I mean, that's just going to be, we're at a position right now where we're going to just have to wait and see how this team continues to perform. And you're right too, Scotty. They do have some goal scorers. I don't think anyone expected Kirill Marchenko to come out and have 42 points in 38 games.
Dude, yeah, it's so wild because they're in goals for a game. They're in the top 10 in the top 8 in the NHL. They're like 7th or 8th. But in goals against, they're 31st, 30th. Like they're literally like at the bottom. But the difference between them, like the difference between their goals scored a game and average and their goals against a game average, the difference is 1/10 of a goal. Like it's almost identical, even though one's 8th and one, and that's obviously just the nature of offense defense. But so that they are 16-16 and literally have almost the exact same amount of goals scored as given up on the season. They are exactly in the middle there for the style of play they have. But I think if they end around this, like that's a huge step forward for the team. And obviously with the tragedy of the offseason, I think that would go a long way in the fan base. So
yeah, absolutely. God, I keep using it. I keep catching myself saying absolutely after I say it. I'm relying way too much.
Just because everything I say is so profound and correct that you're just like, yeah, absolutely.
He's right. Special teams wise, Scotty, let's see, where do they lie on
terrible penalty kill, decent power? That's actually not as good of a power play as it probably should be for the amount of goals they score, but
17th in the league on the power play. On the penalty kill, they are 26th. The Red Wings, by the way, are still 31st as they went.
That's not 32nd is what I'm hearing.
It's not 32nd. The Islanders have that. Their penalty kill is 64%.
Did that make you happy that the Islanders are last in something?
I crossed over with Gil on Locked On NHL earlier in the week, and I talked to him beforehand about how much I hate his Islanders. I was like, I love you, Gil, but I hate your team. He's like, I get it. He has plenty of his own complaints about his Islanders team.
Right.
I was like, they wouldn't even make the playoffs without the loser point. I went on the full rant. He got it all. Other than that, yeah, Happy New Year, man.
Happy New Year, buddy.
What's your New Year's resolution?
I don't know. I didn't really. I don't think I really had one. I don't know. Do you have one?
Oh, I mean, it's the same as everyone else's New Year's resolution. I want to lose weight.
I
used to be sexy, man.
You still are.
Thanks, buddy. I was baiting you for that. I wanted it. I wanted to hear it.
That's diabolical. That's manipulative. That's manipulative. I'll be talking to Allison about that. That's not right.
Did you notice that I changed the background about halfway through, by the way? Like you were talking earlier?
No, I didn't.
So I spelled Betcher wrong. I had 2 E's in there, and I was like, that's not right.
Good
so
job. You did it without even me noticing. I mean, that was good.
You were talking earlier about how half the time it's wrong, and you're like, damn, he's right. It is wrong. I want to thank everyone who listens to our podcast. We had an incredible year, and we would not have been possible without you guys. We had
biggest year in show history for the second year in a row.
For the second year in a row, maybe third year in a row. Honestly, probably each year we've just been crushing it. 420, almost 429,000 audio listens, and that's not even complete because we lost a month of data because we transitioned hosting sites.
Right.
So you don't have the data from January.
Right.
So maybe even closer to like 535. We had 843,000 YouTube views in 2023. That's up 50% from the year prior. 50% more views than the year prior.
That's a lot.
We 175,000 hours watched on YouTube. So you guys are dedicated to us, dedicated to the Red Wings. We really appreciate that. And then I think we added another 2,500 subscribers this year, about the same as last year. I think it was up 7% over last year. Now we're at almost 6.6 thousand total. So we had another incredible year, and literally could not have happened without all you guys listening to us ramble about the Red Wings 5 days a week. you're just as insane as us for talking about them 5 days a week. You're
Correct.
You're all crazy, just like
possible,
us,
man.
Right.
Yeah, is this our third calendar year together now? 2025.
Rookie season for Sider and Raymond. That's how I always remember it. 2022 is our first year together. Hosting.
So this is our fourth calendar year, not full, but
fourth season. Yeah,
the fourth calendar year we'll be together. Man, that's time flies. I like went to your wedding. Like, just funny how we met through this. Like, we did not know each other before Locked On, and even though we did work at a place at the same time, oddly enough. Yeah, man, it's been a
I was like, what is he talking about? It's like, oh yeah,
been a heck of a ride, and love you, buddy. Glad that we get to do this every day, and I am appreciative that anyone out there, really, nonetheless, thousands of people tune in, and that anybody cares what you and I have to say is nothing short of a miracle. So
that is honestly nothing short of a miracle.
Yeah.
All right, any final thoughts, buddy?
We ball, baby.
We do ball. We'll be back with a new episode tomorrow. Incorrect. Yes. No. This is the weird where it gets weird.
What is happening?
No. I described it the other day. So we are actually recording for the same day.
For once. You don't sound like you know.
I'm refreshing myself. We're recording
okay. This is for you. Okay.
This is Wednesday's episode. We're recording on Wednesday for Wednesday. We normally record for the next day. So the next time you'll hear from us is after the Blue Jackets game. So that could be late Thursday, early Friday morning. Same time, same place. It's your team every day.
Every day.